Hey, what's going on, YouTube? Ever since the two new Magic Heroes come out, I've gotten a question pretty frequently, and that's basically who should be the primary and who should be the deputy. So if you don't want to watch the video, my answer is I use Young Ming as my primary. But I thought with the frequency that I'm getting this question, I should talk through exactly why you'd want someone as the primary and why you'd want someone else as the deputy. Because with these two, it doesn't matter very much. Okay, so that's what we're going to go through in this video. We're going to talk about all the differences between the primary and the deputy, the three reasons why, you might be concerned with the ordering of your heroes in your marches. Okay, now this is going to be obvious, but I just want to baseline everyone. Like, obviously, new people play this game all the time. And, sometimes I encounter players that don't, fully understand this. The primary hero, they care about their artifact, their war pet, their talents, and their skills. The deputy hero does not care about their war pet or artifact. They do not care about their talents, but they do care about their skills, all right? And you can see, because I have Grimora as the deputy in this march, I don't have her equipped with either an artifact or a war pet because it doesn't matter, okay? And the other thing that's important with the deputy is their level, because the level influences your overall legion capacity. But other than that, they only really care about their skills. Okay. Now, the thing about the artifact and the war pet, those are freely interchangeable as much as you want. Now, look, war pets have stamina, so you can't use them infinitely. But if I'm switching out who the primary and the deputy is between these two, I can change the artifact and the war pet every time I switch the ordering of the march, right? Because I can only switch the ordering of the march when they're in my city, and at the same time, I can, swap out the artifact, swap out the war pet. So that's no big deal. All right. So while these things matter for the primary, they don't really matter when you determine who your primary is going to be, because whoever that is, that's the one that gets the artifact and the war pet. Okay. Now the talent tree, that matters a lot, because obviously, as you know, every hero only has 3 talent trees. And so depending on who you pick as your primary, you only have access to those 3 trees to build them out. Okay. Now it is worth mentioning that every hero has these 3 trees, but these 3 trees are otherwise identical, right? The skills tree, you'll see that in a lot of heroes, magic and otherwise. Every hero that has the skills tree, that skills tree has exactly the same options in it. Okay, so we're going to build out the talent tree based on who the primary is. Okay, so the first and most important factor when it comes to determining who the primary hero is going to be, is their talent tree, okay? The second thing that's important is the ordering of the rage skills. I'll take a very classic pair here, Lilia Valen, okay? Now, Lilia, let's say she's the primary. When you hit a full rage bar, she'll do her rage skill, and then there'll be a pause, and then Valen will do his rage skill, and then another pause, and then your war pet goes off, okay? Now, for a lot of pairs, that doesn't make a huge deal. You generally want to front load damage, etc. So you just put whatever hero does the most damage first. But it can make a difference in terms of stacking debuffs. I'll give you an example of some other mages. Let's use Thundalin and Goat Girl Thalia here. All right. Thundalin, her rage skill puts the debuff numbed on the target, which increases the amount of damage they take for 2 seconds. Okay. Thalia's rage skill is just a single target, but a pretty big damage factor of 1600. You'd very much like this to go off when the target already has the numb debuff on it. And so that's why these two in the open field, I typically recommend you go with Thundalin first. Okay, the third and final reason why you might choose one hero as the primary and another as the deputy is that certain skills on a few select heroes vary depending on whether they are the primary or the deputy. All right, you look at Ferandil here, his third skill, Song of Swiftness. It has pretty significantly different buffs depending on whether Ferandil is the commander or the deputy, right? If he's the commander, he gets extra march speed and does extra damage. Whereas if he's the deputy, he just does extra skill damage instead of all damage. But the skill, his rage skill is a bit cheaper. So for me, I like him to be the commander because I really care about march speed. So he doesn't work as a deputy for me. He's got to be the commander. Okay. Another kind of classic example is Hosk, right? Hosk has a skill that if he's the commander, the Legion gets a pretty big defense boost. But if he's the deputy, it just does more normal attack damage. Now, look, Hosk is an overall hero, but he's often used with archer marches. And you think back to the classic season one, Kanara Hosk or Hosk Kanara. Which of those two is better? Well, if you're going for a counterattack build, usually you want Hosk as the commander because that 25% defense makes you a lot more tankier. But if you're going for a more traditional, like let's just do damage, straight damage with archer marches, you want Kanara as the primary because Hosk as the deputy gives you a really nice boost to your normal attack. Okay, so getting back to our two new magic heroes, why should you choose one as the primary and one as the deputy? Well, let's take it in reverse order because that'll be the easiest. Do any of their skills vary depending on whether they're the primary or the deputy? And the answer is no, right? All of their skills are all the same depending on where they are in the march. So that's not an issue. Okay. And honestly, the primary deputy skill variance, it's pretty uncommon. Okay. All right. The second issue is like rage skill ordering. Does it matter in terms of which order their rage skills go off? Literally no, because Youngming doesn't have a rage skill, right? Gromora has a rage skill. And so depending on whether she's the primary deputy doesn't matter, because when you hit a full rage bar with these two, she'll use her rage skill, and then your war pet will do whatever it'll do, and Youngming's just doing his stuff throughout the rage cycle, whatever. He doesn't care about a full rage bar, okay? So that doesn't matter at all. Their skills don't vary depending on whether the primary or the deputy. The only thing left is their talent trees. All right, so Youngming, he's got magic, PvP, and skills. Gromora has magic, garrison, and skills. The only thing that's different between these two is Gromora has the garrison tree and Youngming has the PvP tree. If you want talents from the PvP tree, obviously you got to go Youngming. But here's my build, and you can see that I didn't go up the PvP tree. So between like this talent build, this could literally be, Gromora could have the exact same build very easily. So literally either of them could be, the primary commander, right? Now, obviously, if you want to go up the PvP tree, and like the first part of the branch is pretty good here, I actually just went magic because I need that movement speed. Then you would need Youngming as the primary. Okay, so having said that, why do I advise Youngming as the primary and Gromora as the deputy? It's not a big deal. One part of it is you might theoretically want that PvP tree for open fielding. Obviously, you don't want the garrison tree for open fielding. Okay, so that makes sense. The second reason is that you can sort of use these heroes in different situations. For open fielding, Youngming's my commander, but Gromora is going to be my garrison commander. Like, she's not now because I don't really have her that well developed. But when I have her fully developed out, like I'm a League of Order player, I have a lot of Celestials, it makes sense for me to have a magic commander in my garrison. And I'm going to have her in as the primary in my garrison using that garrison tree. So I can just build her, talent tree out to take full advantage of the garrison tree. It's a very good tree. And that way, when they're in the field, her talent tree doesn't matter. And when she's in the city, she can be the commander there, all right? I kind of do something very similar with Magzay, right? Magzay, they're a marksman march, but a lot of people use them as mages as well. I do that sometimes. And when I send them out as marksmen, I use Mag as my marksman commander. And when I send them out as mages, I use Zeta as the mage commander. And the reason I do that, there's some talents in Mag's talent tree that are really good for marksman. I don't want to compromise that. And so I have Mag built out for marksman, and I don't have to give her like a compromised tree when I use them with mages. I can just swap the primary and the deputy because I have Zeta spec'd for magic marches. Okay, so if the most important thing is the talent tree, what are some very good talent trees you want to be looking for when you determine who the primary commander is for your marches? Look, it all varies depending on your marches. A very important factor is always going to be march speed, depending on how much you care about that. I always say march speed is sort of an issue of personal preference. And some trees have a lot of good march speed in it and some don't. Okay. Very commonly, the skills tree is extremely powerful, particularly for mages and to a lesser extent cav. When it comes to marksmen or archers, the precision tree is great. Infantry often love the infantry tree, if you will. And I find with cav, I either want the skills tree or the mobility tree. But look, every hero combination is different. It all depends on who you're using, what the situation is, and what your personal preferences are. But the talent tree is the most important factor when it comes to determining who your primary is and who your deputy is. Pretty simple, I know, but I've run into a number of people that had questions about that lately, and I thought I'd put out a video. And hey, that's all I got for you today. And until next time, you stay classy, Belleron.